Hey, I'm Jason Wood, the VA Loan Guy and host of the Armed and Ready podcast. Please come and check out this exciting episode we have for you. Hey, and welcome to another episode of the Armed and Ready podcast. I'm your host, Jason Wood, the VA Loan Guy. Today we have Navy veteran John Vallas with us, who's turned active duty Navy entrepreneur. So we're super excited to have you here, John. Thanks for carving some time out. I know you're slammed, but thanks for coming with us today.
Thanks for having me, Jason. I'm really excited to have a conversation with you and see what happens.
Cool. Well, so we were chatting a little bit off the air about some of the stuff that you're doing, but I want to introduce to our audience like how you got to where you are, right? So you joined the Navy. Tell us about that journey in the Navy and what you did.
Right as 9/11 happened, I was working on a horse farm in northern Florida, and all the radios and TV stations stopped, we watched all that, and after that, my family has a history of Navy veterans, and kind of felt a patriotic call to join the Navy. So within a few months, I had gone and done all the recruiter stuff. And December 2011, went to boot camp in Great Lakes, and with the Navy, which is pretty cool. Joined the Navy to go on the submarines. So I first started out as a radyman on the up in Groton, Connecticut, and then transferred out here to San Diego.
Okay.
While I was stationed on the USS Jefferson City, ended up going to Navy dive school, became a diver, and after that transferred to EOD. So I went and became a mobile field communications guy, and was doing training ops for the techs there, and narrowly avoided getting deployed out with those guys. Went into reserves, transferred out to Millington, Tennessee, got reactivated at Navy Recruiting Command headquarters, and got selected for chief while I was there. So that was nice. That's its own story and experience right there. Is becoming a chief in the Navy. It's a brother and sisterhood that's unlike any other fraternity or community that I know of. It's pretty awesome. So from there, did active duty, the reactivation time there, and eventually got out of the Navy in 2010.
So how long total were you?
Total is 10 years.
10 years?
Yeah,
okay.
Right around 10 years.
Cool. So start out in subs. Did you pick that, or did they pick that for you?
So you take your test before you get into the military, the ASVAB the ASVAB test. So I don't even remember what my score was, but at that point, then it's like, okay, well, here's what you can do, and it was a couple of different options, and submarines just seemed like it was the most pay. That's really what it came down to. I was like, how can I get out of here? How soon can I get out, and how much? What's the job that I can make the most money? And I'm sure my recruiter was real happy about that and stuck me in subs. So that was an interesting and eye-opening experience. I can't say it was amazing. It was awesome, and I wouldn't want to do it again.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. For some reason, I can't imagine being in a sub, being underwater, driving around. It's just, I don't know, so weird to me. Did you get to go any cool spots while you were on the sub?
We did. We deployed out. We did a Westpac deployment, and because I was a diver, was able to go diving out at Guam. I know a lot of people in the military or veterans know about Guam. It's a good stop up point on your Westpacs.
Yeah.
So there, the scuba diving is actually amazing. The water's so clear. Not much else to do there,
right?
As a lot of guys know. And then Singapore, we pulled in there. That was pretty awesome. And let's see what else. I think that's mostly we were tooling around and over in the Western Hemisphere. So
that's pretty cool. Nice. So tell us about becoming a chief. Like, how did that come to be, and what was that experience like?
That's like I said, that's a story in and of itself. So I happened to just thread the needle. I was one of those go-getters, while at the same time not really fitting into the military sort of mentality of fall in line. So with that, I stood out, maybe not always for good reasons, but I kind of just always was hard charging, and like to keep moving, which is why I was able to also have so many different experiences. Typically, you know, in the military, you kind of follow a one career path.
Yeah.
And the Navy sort of tries to keep you, and I'm sure the Air Force the same way, tries to keep you in, you know, in that
track,
career path, in
basically.
that track,
Yeah.
because they invest a lot of money in you. I mean, I went to school for 3 years before I even hit the boat. So,
Wow.
you know, and then I was very fortunate. I only had to be on the sub for 2 years. So I got out of there.
Nice.
And with that, I've always had that spirit. In that, I also sort of gravitated towards being a leader just by inspiring people through wanting to do more, wanting to learn more. And so I just was able to end up getting selected for chief. I had a early promotion opportunity, and got picked up. I want to say it was 7 years in, which is pretty early.
Yeah.
Pretty early for E7. And that's that process in the Navy. The Air Force doesn't really have a. Do you guys have a process like that?
Sort of. Yeah.
Like an initiation or induction, or I'm not exactly sure what they're calling it these days. But I could tell you, in Millington, Tennessee, the Navy has its Navy Personnel Command, all the human resources, Navy Recruiting Command, a lot of senior commands sort of consolidated into Millington, Tennessee. And so there was quite a few of the Chiefs community there. You know, all the executives are at that command.
Right.
So, or at that base. So going through induction season with the Chiefs there was harrowing. It was harrowing. It's a process.
Right.
It's a process to break you down, do team building with the fellow Chiefs that that are going through the process with you. And also, I had a really great opportunity during induction season where some of the Chiefs were able to fly up to Boston, and we stayed for a week up on the deck of the USS Constitution. So I got to sleep on the deck of the USS Constitution up in Boston. And Boston is a military town. They are a patriotic town. So if anybody's from Boston, man, what a great town. We would go out and we would march out on the streets, and people would just come out. You know, we were singing cadence, and people would come out and they would cheer and clap in the middle of the day. And then at night, you know, we get to sleep on the deck of the USS Constitution, which is the oldest commissioned ship in the Navy, and maybe the world. I don't know. That was a pretty amazing experience. So I was able to do some things like that. I had some great experiences in the Navy, met some amazing people, and from there, actually, I was married at the time, so my daughter's mom transferred to a ship out here. So when we came out here, right around that time, I was I had transferred back to reserve. So I did some bouncing a little bit between active and reserve. Okay. I transferred back to reserve, and as soon as I got out here to San Diego, I'm talking pulling at midnight with the car in tow and all the stuff, and 6 o'clock the next morning received orders to Djibouti, Africa. Oh, and wow. My daughter's mom was getting attached to a seagoing command. They were already doing workups for deployment, so I had to make a really hard choice at that point to decide: are we going to leave our kid without parents? Because that's essentially what we were. And the military doesn't try to do that, but we just got caught in that position because we were both chiefs, and the higher up you get, the less control you have over your destiny and over your command and where you're going. So. I made the hard choice at that point to transition to inactive reserves, and right around that time is when I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was kind of in a loop. I could tell you I wasn't really, it was a bittersweet decision to leave the military at that point, and I really had no plan. So at that point I'm kind of lost. I was surfing in the morning, meditating, trying to think about what am I doing in my life, right? And we had a little bit of money saved, and that was the point where there was a change. There was kind of a shift. I had to make a really big shift from a military mindset into what's the next step.
Yeah, well, that's really unfortunate, when you guys moved here and all that stuff. But you got to take care of family, right? Take care of your little girl. So now you're you're an entrepreneur, right? You have your own business, and you guys are into like flipping houses and doing all that stuff, right? So how did you go into that right at this point where you had kind of that mindset shift, or did that happen later?
I wish. Yeah, while I was trying to figure out what I was going to do, I had taken some personal development courses and written down, mindset exercises and what I had really wanted in my life. Like what was I most passionate about? That was really what had that was key. So while I was floundering around, I actually ran across a piece of paper that I had written. It was simply a list. What am I most passionate about? And I had taken some personal development course. I don't even remember which one it was. But I do really invest in myself with reading and with following people like you and listening to other people and their stories, and then also going and doing personal development courses. So one of those courses, I had written, the exercise was write down what is it that you're passionate about, like really simple stuff, and it was all kinds of random things. And I ran across this piece of paper that was stuffed in my filing cabinet while I was actually looking for a job, because at that point, after getting out, there was a few months transition. At some point you got to start paying bills.
Yeah.
So I ran across that piece of paper, and on that piece of paper, like I said, it was my family, my car, but also coffee, inspiring people. And that moment, I just sort of looked at that, and I let go of the money issue. Like I let go of paying bills and everything like that. And I was like, well, what can I do that would just be in alignment with what's on this piece of paper?
Yeah.
And what ended up emerging from that is I found a little cafe, a failed cafe right here. So we're on Mission Boulevard here in San Diego, which is beautiful right now and perfect. About a mile from where we're sitting right now, I found a little failed cafe on Mission Boulevard, and decided to go for it. I knew I loved coffee. When you're in the military, a lot of coffee. So I knew I loved coffee, and I knew I wanted to be by the beach so I could go and surf and spend time with my friends. And so I bought that little failed cafe. It had a little outdoor patio. The building was 500 square feet. It was barely enough for a kitchen. And so I actually opened up a coffee shop.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. That was the first step, the first big jump. And that was letting go of the. How when you're in the military, you've got kind of a support system and everything like that. But when you go into business, when you do something like that, I mean, I remember I got the keys the night before I was supposed to take over the lease and everything. And the person that I bought the cafe from was supposed to provide 2 weeks of training and all this. And we had this whole agreement, and I never saw him again. So I go to open up the cafe at 6 o'clock in the morning, and one of the guys who stayed on as an employee showed up, and thankfully he did, because I didn't know the first thing. The first time I pulled an espresso shot was after I opened the door the first day. I didn't know anything. All I knew is I love coffee.
That's it.
And from there, that was its own journey. So ended up working out. There's that's a long, again, I told you I can go on and on, but from there, I met people right away, right here, just coming and going in the cafe and having conversations and being interested in inquiring in people's lives, and having conversations just like this. What is it that what are you about? What drives you? And I met a couple of really successful people. I noticed that they were all in real estate, and so I started to get interested in what they were doing. And about 2.5, 3 years into that cafe, I took on an investment partner, opened up a second cafe, and then we ultimately built a coffee roasting facility, a multi-million-dollar coffee roasting facility, to start roasting our own beans. I ended up traveling to Central America, and we were purchasing coffee directly from farms in Africa.
Wow.
And everything. And I sold that bit, but I ended up going really well. From that first little cafe, we were doing pretty well. So in 2016, I sold that business, and traveled with my daughter around the world for a while. And right around mid 2018, I started running out of money. I'd invested in a couple companies. I didn't really know what I wanted to do next. It was kind of the same thing. So I was traveling around doing some retreats and crazy experiences out in the jungle of Costa Rica.
Oh, wow.
Stuff like that. and had an opportunity to mentor under a real estate developer. So I knew I'd already done some development. We did commercial. I did some residential flips during that time. Fortunately, my business had become pretty successful. So when I sold all that, I kind of took a break for a while, and then while I was investing in a couple of companies that didn't work, the last little bit of money that I had, put it into investing in my education for myself. So I went and got my real estate agent's license.
Okay.
And I had already been working on transactions, and that seemed pretty natural. And I was also working on my hours and making sure that I could get lined up and eventually take my test to become a licensed general contractor.
Nice.
And that all came from going into flips and having partners and things like that, and it not working out. So, if I had to go back and do this again, I don't know if I would not have the experiences that I had with some of the business relationships that failed,
Mhm.
or some of the investments that failed. I would just invest in my education sooner. And then, we were talking about, some of the junior sailors and junior military people that find ways to invest in real estate investment, or invest in real estate, invest in properties early. I would have done that a lot sooner. I would have been putting all of my energy and effort into going that route.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a lot of like where my passion is really trying to help like educate that community on the benefit that sits in front of them. Right. And I mean, they're so focused intentionally, right, at being good soldiers and sailors and airmen, right, that you don't oftentimes think about like your future and your retirement. You're just go, 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 go. You're in that focused channel, right? Which is exactly how the military wants it. But if, we can peel away a little bit of that energy and show people like, here's a path that you can do, right, running alongside your military career.
Mhm.
And eventually the military career is going to stop at some point, right? Whether it's 20 years or 5 years or whatever it is. And there's going to be another path. And, there's that opportunity to build as you're going, right? And I think I was sharing with you earlier, experience of like this E1 in Virginia, bought his first house as an E1. And I mean, in the military as an E1, you can't even live off base, right? So he wasn't buying a house for himself. He couldn't buy a primary residence. He hadn't been in the Navy long enough to have his VA eligibility. So he wasn't using the VA loan, but he found really inexpensive, like $50,000 home. And he got his dad and his uncle to invest with him for the down payment. And he got the loan and bought his first investment property. He was 18, 19 years old. And but he gets it. So now, as he goes on and maybe he does a 20-year career in the Navy or whatever, I mean, PCSs, he'll be using that VA loan and picking up property. And it's just teaching people that opportunity that lies ahead of them, right? I mean, as you mentioned, just seeing like people in real estate and stuff. And that's where a lot of American wealth is generated, is through real estate.
Yeah.
So here's like the perfect path. You're forced to move every so many years. So you're forced to have a new place to live, whether you rent it, live on base, or buy it. Like you got to live somewhere, right? So here's an opportunity as long as you're good with your finances along the way, and you can get out and be in awesome shape,
Yep.
And be set up.
Yep.
So, yeah, I think that's really cool, and being able to take, kind of that leap of faith too in like what you did is, investing in like flips and doing those different things. Risky, right?
Yep.
But great learning experiences and getting into that. So I wanted to ask you a little bit more about like, how did you get into like these flips, and what were some of the things that you learned, like lessons learned on the ones that didn't work out and stuff like that?
Whether they work out or not, every project is a learning opportunity. I mean,
everyone sees HGTV like, oh, it's perfect, and they make a bunch of money, right?
God. I tell you, I've done quite a number of flips. It's not really it's risky, and the flip game doesn't work in every market. We're here in San Diego, we're here in California. You can walk into equity, and right now in what is it, April 2021, San Diego market is rising at a rate of like 6% per month or something wild. I mean, don't quote me on that, but I mean the equity, the values of housing here, it's unsustainable, and it's also really just it's out of control, quite frankly.
Agreed.
And including the rental market here. So for the sailors and soldiers that are transferring here to San Diego, this is this market in particular it's got a high ceiling, or a high point of entry. However, That said, there are so many ways, particularly when you're in the military, to leverage the your profile as a borrower, that you have a steady income, and pulling people together to put together an investment project, that may, for people that aren't here in San Diego, to show them, putting it down on paper and putting together a plan. There's always a way. There's always a way. You shared about the E1 using friends and family, and then there's also private investors, and there's people in the military I've seen pull together funds, and purchase a property. Now for active duty military and for people who are veterans, when I'm talking to them about how to, like, what their investment, like the best investment strategy for them would be into going into real estate, it's not necessarily flips. Flips would be something I kind of call icing on the cake. That's now I do work mainly with investors, and we do flips, and we also do buy and hold projects. And for people in the military, what I recommend, and you mentioned it, every few years you're moving. It's this process. I don't know how people say it, BRRR or BRRR or whatever, but
yeah,
where you purchase a property, you live in it, you renovate it, then you renovate it, you renovate it, and then you refinance the property. So here in San Diego, and again, this may not apply to all markets, but you can purchase a property here that is, you purchase a rundown property, you purchase a property that may not be the ideal property, to just walk in, turnkey, something that you would see on this, these shows.
Yeah.
That's all done up. But you purchase a property, and this is if somebody were to come to me today who's active duty or a veteran, and they wanted to know what would be the best approach, this is what I do. We go and we find properties, whether it's off market or properties that are just coming onto the market that are out of date. And you get that property, you purchase that property, you find a diamond in the rough. It might have rough edges, but with that, it gives you a starting point that you have a what's called a projected after repair value. So you're purchasing property at whatever whatever the purchase price is. I could tell you the values of properties here is all over the place.
Yeah,
it's really, you can't comp out a property these days. Right now, I have a feeling that's going to change here shortly.
I think so too. Yeah, as we see interest rates rise.
Well, that, and we've got the moratorium on mortgage foreclosures coming in June.
Yep.
And we're already speculating that there's going to be a wave of incoming inventory. So that may push the real estate prices down. Okay, so back to the model. Okay. The approach. The approach that I recommend for people who are veterans, who are active duty, and clients that I work with is to purchase a property that's out of date. Plan to remodel it, so have a little bit of money, or have a plan to either find some money to invest in the property to get to a projected after repair value that you can then refinance the property at the renovated value,
finished value.
Right.
Yeah.
You can get money back from that. So you have options there, but you do that, you get money back. You get your money back that you've invested in the property, the renovation money that you've invested in the property.
Yeah.
Then you move, you hold on to that property, you rent it. You move to your next property, whether you're using your VA or not. We could talk about that at a later time of how to do that, how to jump properties, or chain properties. And then when you refinance that property at the after repair value, particularly with the interest rates how they are now, you have an increase in equity, you're increasing net worth, you have money aside, and you're ready for your next one.
Right. And you've increased your rental value of the home too.
Absolutely.
Now you went from a rough house to a nice home,
and now you have a second stream of income. So you're not just relying on your military pay,
right?
Which then allows you to really start to increase your wealth.
Yeah,
based on the number of properties that you have. Yeah,
totally. Yeah. And I talk to guys about that all the time. I mean, one of my favorites is, well, I would say before I mention that is, there's always, you come to a market like San Diego or Hawaii, with these high home prices, right? And a lot of our active duty guys are from small towns, all across America. So in their eyes, like $500,000 home is like a mansion on an estate where they're from, right?
Yeah, my family feels the same way.
But you come out here and $500,000 gets you like a little postage stamp on a zero lot line somewhere, and it's ugly, right? So it's a totally different. It's a mental shift to be able to kind of come from that as your base to here and go, whoa, oh my gosh. But the huge benefit, and I kind of liken it to like the stock market, right? Like if you were to take $10 and just put it in the S&P 500, well, you're going to make whatever the return is, 20% on $10. Well, what if that was $100,000 in the same investment? Well, the dollars, the percentage is the same, the percentage of growth. Dollars are so much bigger, right? Because it's on that bigger base, that bigger multiple. So kind of the same thing with real estate, even though it's like jaw dropping to some people what the prices are here. If you can make it work, because obviously BH is going to be higher, all the rest of it, right? If you can make it work, the more that you can get here long term, the more dollars that you'll make from it, right? So we talk a lot about like multifamily homes quite often, right? Because that's a cool instrument, cool real estate investment, right? They can live in it while they're here. They live in one unit, maybe buy a 4-unit place, and you can use the rents from the other units to help you qualify. So now maybe you only qualified for a $600,000 place, but because of the rents, you're at $1.2 million. And fast forward 20 years, your $1.2 million acquisition is gonna be worth a heck of a lot more 20 years from now, right?
Plus you've got cash flow.
Plus cash flow, right? And eventually you move out and your unit gets rented. So, you know, that thing is really, really smoking.
Yeah. You know, you mentioned the stock market, you know, and obviously if you've got money to spare, you know, if people have money to play with, if they're, you know, if they have money to lose, you know, I don't tell people what to do with their money, but you know what I like about real estate? It's tangible. Yeah. You know, I mean, the stock market is it's betting on the future value of something, and it's betting. You know, it's betting, and there's plenty of money to be made. It's not my thing.
Wall Street casino, right?
Yeah, I like real estate. I like to put my hands on it. You know, it's always there. It's always there, and not every market, like I said, but most markets, in particular in the market that we're in, you know, you can almost guarantee that there's a value. There's always value there. Real estate always has value. It may fluctuate. You know, we've seen the values of real estate ebb and flow.
Fluctuates over time,
but it always eventually increases. Always eventually increases. And like you said, whether it's a multifamily, you're renting it out. You know, you're moving from station to station. You hold on to that property and you rent that thing out. You may break even. You may only make $100 or $200 in the beginning. But as you increase your equity in that property and you're able to refi so as you increase your equity in that property, it becomes your own borrowing tool. And you've got cash flow, and you're making money in your job, and you're able to build a profile, right? Like, you know, this, like a borrower's profile. When a borrower, let me ask you this, Jason. When a borrower comes to you and they own 3 properties and they want to get another property, but their debt to income ratio might be high or something like that, but they've got these 3 properties, how much more likely, because they have experience in real estate, because they own property, how much more likely are they going to be able to get another loan, to borrow more money?
Probably pretty likely.
Because
they've been able to perform on 3 mortgages, you know, at one time, you know, so provided we can, and they have the history, right? So a lot of it is having that history, having managed investment properties, which parlays into how we can utilize the money and the income and the losses and the debts and all that stuff from those properties to help you qualify for the next one, right? So that experience managing those is a big plus, super big plus. What are you seeing? Like, I mean, our market right now, and this is nationwide. I mean, I do loans in 20 states, and every market is just as on fire as San Diego, right? There's a gazillion offers on every house. They're going over asking price. Like, it's a frenzy, right? So what are you seeing with the acquisitions that you're making, and maybe some of those more kind of rough edge homes and stuff? What is your, you guys are implying like any kind of strategy to help, you know, acquire the property and kind of nudge out the competition?
It depends. You know, I here's what I will say, that I've been representing some VA clients on making offers on retail residential properties, and it's really, really unfortunate, the conditions that are in the market right now. You know, I don't want to go so far as to say that veterans and active duty are being discriminated against because of the VA requirements for a loan to close on a property. But I know here in this market, what we've seen is that because it's such a frenzy, because the competition is so high for and the number of offers that are getting put in on any listing, regardless of the situation, and then the lack of lack of contingencies, going in with these no contingencies as is offers, and on VA, with a VA loan, there's requirements that you can sit there and you can put in the purchase offer, or the listing agent can have some requirements that try to negate the VA loan requirements, but it's not it doesn't work like that with
right.
a VA loan. So because sellers have their pick of
they got the leverage right now.
Buyers,
yeah.
They're gravitating. What I'm seeing is that they're gravitating towards the loans that they know are going to close. And obviously, we see here in San Diego, there's tons of cash offers, and some of them are just ridiculous. We're seeing houses. The last house we closed on was a house that somebody had passed away in, and it still went for $75,000 over asking. And we were able to close because as a buyer's agent, it's important. There's ways to establish a rapport, establish a connection with the listing agent and with the seller of the home, and work towards making them feel good that the loan's going to close.
Yeah.
I've seen sellers not go with the highest offer necessarily. They just want to they want to get the thing closed. So from a VA perspective, we see a lot of competition there. Stuff.
Yeah, no, we see a lot of it too, and sometimes it's tough for the client, right? They can get discouraged or whatever. But I would say the benefit, especially in our market, is it's San Diego, right? I mean, we're just surrounded by military. So, even though there's cash offers and there's people putting huge down payments, things like that, you're competing against, there's still such a huge veteran and active duty military population here that coming in with an offer on a VA loan is not a surprise to anybody, right? Listing agent, it's not like in some areas where I do business, like there's very little military presence, and you show up with a VA offer and they're like, how do you spell VA? But I mean, here it's very common, right? So it's, maybe you're not going to win all the ones that you want, but you're not the minority as far as like your loan type and what you're trying to accomplish. Yeah.
The other thing I would recommend with a VA buyer, one of the things that we've also implemented as a strategy is just make sure that the buyers are aware, to have money, VA buyers aware, have money set aside. The appraisal is not going to come in where the VA appraisal is not going to come in where the purchase offer the property is going to be, and we've got to guarantee. So as the buyer's agent, you need to go in and our strategy is just to go in and make sure that the listing agent, that the seller knows that the buyer with a VA loan has the money set aside to make up the difference between the purchase price and the VA appraisal. Yeah, that's kind of the big thing. So that's how we've been able to work with VA buyers and still get them the homes.
Yeah. I know there's a couple of different creative things that I've seen happen too, which and we could probably talk for hours about all these different ways. But bottom line is, they got to get with somebody who has some experience and has some strategies, at their fingertips to help them. One thing I have noticed, without dwelling on the subject for so long, but is, a lot of the sellers, they're pretty tough at the beginning, right? At the offer stage. Yeah, you better be able to cover appraisal deficiencies and all these things, right? But you get 2 weeks into an escrow, an appraisal comes in $25,000 low or something, whatever the number is. You'd be surprised, or I've been surprised, I should say, as to how many of the sellers are willing to soften their tone a little bit, because now they're at a point, they're halfway through the escrow, they want to sell the house, right? I mean, That's the whole goal, right? They want to sell the house. They don't want to be on the market all the time, right? They don't want to go back on the market, start over, do all that stuff. So, and oftentimes they've already found the replacement home. So now, there's a timing thing that's important for them too. So I found that in a lot of the situations where I've experienced a lower appraisal, that they've usually been able to come to an agreement of some type. It doesn't mean always that the buyer had no extra cash out of pocket, but it might not have been the full Monty, right? Because they're not quite as hardcore usually in the middle of the transaction as they are at the very front end.
Yeah, I mean, once you get into escrow, the buyer has leverage. You know, obviously the seller doesn't want to cancel escrow. Nobody really, you know, really it's really the seller at that point doesn't want to cancel the escrow. Once you get into escrow, you know, it never hurts to ask. Even with VA buyers and things like that, when you're coming in and you make a purchase, you make an offer to purchase a home, and then you go through your inspections and everything like that. I tell you, it never hurts to ask. And a seller won't, even if you're in the negotiation process and it does get tense. It's always you know, it's always good to ask.
Yeah.
If you don't ask for credits or you don't ask for something, particularly in escrow, the answer is always no, right?
Totally. Yeah. You got to ask.
You got to ask. So yeah, yeah, definitely.
Cool. Well, how can people get in touch with you? Like, they want to talk to you about real estate or investing or just hopping into that entrepreneurial space, you know, and pick your brain. What's the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah, so I don't really do much social media on the business side, but our company, I think we might have. I'm on Facebook, so it's just John Vallas, Vallas, and then we're part of some of the military groups on Facebook that provide a lot of information to veterans and active duty military in terms of investing and real estate. And Facebook's probably the best way right now. And then my company name. So as a real estate agent, I'm licensed. My license is with Harcourt's Pinnacle here in San Diego.
Okay.
I'm more than happy to answer any of your community's questions regarding real estate, whether it's in San Diego or not. You know, we also have things going on in North Carolina. And then I'm a licensed general contractor, so we have multiple projects. And then specifically, we've kind of gotten into specialization of working on constructing these ADUs, converting garages, converting
that's a whole nother. That's a hot topic. We could spend an hour on.
Whole other conversation. Yeah. I have multiple projects going on right now. But our construction company's name is Vallas Construction and Development Inc. Okay. And we're here in San Diego. I love working with veterans. So if anybody sees me on Facebook's probably the easiest way to get in touch with me. So if anybody sees me in one of the groups or wants to just reach out to me, just DM me there, and we'll get something figured out, and hopefully I can provide some value and information and help your listeners and your community be successful in investing.
Awesome, I love it. Yeah, and the house hacking ADU piece. I mean, that's a whole nother strategy, right? Which is super fun and cool. And we'll have to get together again and maybe dig it deeper into some of that stuff. Yeah. But John, thanks so much for sharing your story with us. Jason. Always great to meet another veteran in San Diego, and love that you're serving the community, and really appreciate you coming on the show today.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Jason.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you so much for checking out today's episode. If you have any questions about the guests on the show, please reach out to me at valoanguy.us.